And three. Hey, what's up? This is Wilsfer with Abysmal Hymns, and I got Reza Mills back with me again, and we are going through our top five goth albums. We did post-punk. What's the difference, you ask? Well, first things first, goth is not about just wearing black or black lipstick or smoking clove cigarettes or going to the Veterans Center on Saturday night to just dance with your friends. It is about a celebration of darkness in the sonic form, and I think that it's heavy, but in a different way than metal. I think that it's outsider music, but there's a romanticism to it that romanticizes some of the same things that like Doom does. So yeah, and it's sonically heavy without, well, in most cases without the distortion. I think a few of my albums are going to have some distortion on them at least. Um, but it's a more psychedelic departure from the punk rock feel of the early post-punk bands. Even though some of these bands are a part of that and they came out of the punk scene, they got more atmospheric and more psychedelic and more elegant in their sound. So I don't know. What's your summary?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much following on from that. Oh dear, it's so multifaceted. Obviously, it came out of the post-punk thing. So you've got death rock, you've got the what they call the Batcave thing, in about the mid 80s. You've got the very flamboyant, over-the-top stuff. Then you got the gothic metal type of bands. So yeah, it's here, there, and everywhere, really. And for me, I love goth. I'm obviously I don't dress like that, and it can get a little bit frustrating sometimes. You go to something like Whitby Goth Festival, and you got someone dressed like Tim Burton or something, and it's like, yeah, okay, fine, I guess. But for me, it's about an emotion, and you know. It's not just about playing dress up. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. I want to make stress that, of course. But for me, it is more about an emotion and a feel rather than, just looking like Gary Oldman in Dracula.
Right, right. I think the dress up factor is definitely secondary.
Yeah.
Um, Apparently I, as a late teens, early 20s, I was doing it before I even knew what I was doing the dress up before I knew what goth was. I just thought that, I was like dressing up like Shout at the Devil, and everybody was like, "Oh, there's Goth Will." And I was like, "What?"
Yes. Well, yeah, I guess there could be some parallels there, maybe, but
Yeah, I mean, and that's even like we're talking the 90s.
oh yeah.
Um, and I would dress up if I wanted to go see some of these bands that we're about to talk about. So, start us off with your number one, and once again, not in order. These are
Sure.
just the five top ones.
All right. Okay, so the first band, and I think there might be a connection with you coming up at some point, Will, but my first band, I feel are criminally underrated. They're from Brooklyn, but they're not who you think they are. And they're a little band called Pissed On, PIST.ON. And I say about there's a typo negative connection because, of course, the great Josh Silver produced these guys' debut album. And I love them because they have that sense of humor. I mean, for God's sake, I mean, their band name for a start. And that first album, is a picture of a little boy having a piss, in essence. And there's some great songs on there. Grey Flap is probably the song that they're best known for. It's super catchy. I think of it as there's a similarity to Black Number One in a sense, in the catchiness of it. They also do a really cool cover of the Smiths. I think I'm trying Shoplifters of the World
Yep.
Unite. And yeah, just a really, really overlooked band that I don't think ever got their dues. I think they're sort of around now in some form, but and it's interesting. They kind of traverse that thing that they are gothic metal, but whereas I find some of those bands, I hate to put it, a little bit boring. Like I never really got into Lacuna Coil or Paradise Lost, even though I respect them. It just wasn't really that engaging for me. These guys, I think, like Typo, didn't forget to use humor as, I suppose, part of the hook as a way of getting into their music. So, um, And I'm just trying to remember what that album was called, actually. It wasn't called Sellout. Oh, it's called Number One. Yeah. So
Hmm.
that's the album I'm talking about.
And that's why he was going number one.
I don't think, sadly, it did that, but
Well, the
uh,
little boy on the cover
oh,
was going number one.
oh, he was, yeah. At least it wasn't the other variety.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved that album too. I bought it when it came out. I was working at a record store and I got the
Yeah.
promo of it. And so if you like those guys,
Hmm.
and I've probably tried to peddle this band on you before, but kind of picking up where Piston left off, it's not they're no related members of either band, but they capture the same kind of sonic thing
Hmm.
is Hangman's Chair. They're from France.
All right. I'll make a note
And yeah,
right
they're worth
now.
checking out. If you like Piston, check out Hangman's Chair. If you like Hangman's Chair, check out Piston. If you like Typo Negative, check out Piston.
I'm just
Which,
making a note as we speak.
yeah, and I'll go ahead and I'll make that bridge and go ahead and say my first pick, which is the most modern album on here. And it goes all the way back to 1996. And when I picked this album, I know that some people are going to ask why I didn't choose the one before it. I think the one that came out before this album was more metal.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna pick October Rust by Typo Negative.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, as it's just production wise, it's very lush and
Hmm.
it sounds more like, from a production standpoint, The Cure than October Rust, which held Bloody Kisses, which held more common ground with bands like you're talking about My Dying Bride and uh Paradise Lost, and there was
Lacuna
more
Coil.
of a connection. Even though I think that when that came out, all those bands' ears popped up and they were like, "Oh, no, that's what we need to do." Because I think Typo Negative was definitely influential on how that kind of metal came about,
Hmm.
and they were kind of chasing after their success. Because I mean, they were like opening up for Ozzy and Motley Crue, which certainly Lacuna Coil was not doing at that time. And like for me, like Lacuna Coil is more like a new metal band. I mean, I guess they have that. There's an element to it, and I get what you're saying because like for me, it's like a band like Theater of Tragedy.
Right.
They were too Renaissance Festival for me. Once you get in the frilly white shirts and start looking like a pirate, then like Nightwish,
Oh
you're
God.
totally losing, man.
Oh
And I,
Jesus.
I mean, Nightwish sounds like freaking anime music to me.
I agree. They're kind of like the Dragon Force of goth metal, I guess.
Right, yeah. I mean, when they had Tarja Turner, I could at least appreciate what they were doing. And the singer after that, there was one album I did kind of like if I was going to play Dungeons and Dragons. Um, but they weren't dark enough for me. And then that's where a lot of the even, I just reviewed this band called Creeper.
Yeah.
And oh God, they're terrible. They sound they sound like if you took him on the
Oh,
verses and went Meatloaf on the
oh,
choruses.
oh, that sounds absolutely horrible.
I mean, you gotta just hear one song for a
Oh
laugh,
my God,
but
I'll definitely give that a listen. That sounds really shocking. Are they
right.
American or?
No, they're British.
Oh my God, I am
You're
so
you guys are
sorry.
responsible. You should be
I'm
ashamed.
sorry. I am. I mean, it's like Jesus, as if Gene Loves Jezebel wasn't punishment enough.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, in
sorry.
those guys, I can at least understand the nostalgia of Gene Loves
Yeah.
Jezebel. They were one of those bands that, like, if I'd been, if it was 1994 and I was doing too much cocaine, I might listen to them. But
Yeah, yeah. No, that's oh my God, that's when goth for me was getting a little bit too silly. I don't hate it, but yeah, it's not quite dark enough. It's just getting a bit too frilly shirty for me.
yeah, I mean, so like Gene Loves Jezebel seems a lot like an extension of Love and Rockets
Oh
almost.
yeah, yeah, but not
Yeah.
as.
All right, what's your number two?
Oh, all right, so slightly more obscure choice. Now, I'm a huge fan of a guy called Jeff Wilson, and I'm sure you're quite on the ball with your black metal and things like that. I don't know if you're familiar with Chrome Waves. It's not
Hmm.
that band, but this is a side project he did called Deeper Graves, and it's on his Disorder Recordings label. Um, this was actually one of my early reviews, the album Open Roads, I should have said. And it was one of my early reviews for The Sleeping Shaman, so back in 2020. And it's kind of got elements of shoegaze, but not really. It has kind of a thunderous, kind of slightly Sisters of Mercy vibe to it without being maybe without. But if you lost the whole Meatloaf, Jim Steinman over the top production, it's just really well put together. I hear a bit of Depeche Mode in there. It's just so well done. And it kind of crosses over into post-punk as well. Check out tracks like Last Transmission and Leave This World. Again, I'm a huge fan of anything Jeff Wilson does, but this is probably one of my favorite projects of his. I think they're recording a third album. This guy is ridiculously prolific. But yeah, this is definitely a record that I recommend. I think you would dig them a lot. And they're from
Yep,
Indianapolis. I
I've
mean,
heard it.
yeah,
He also used to play for Knockmistium, I think, at one point.
yes, that's right. Yeah, he was heavily involved in black metal, I think.
Hmm.
And I like his mate as well. He does a lot of stuff with a guy called Heath Rave, who's Lotus Thrones as well.
Right.
Um, but yeah, he's really, really talented. He's just a really interesting um, artist. So yeah, really, really cool. I recommend everyone check that record out.
So you talked about Black Metal Connection. I'll
Sure.
work that into my number two because this is a band where, I'm friends with a lot of guys in different black metal bands, but the
Mhm.
one, and anytime I'm hanging out with them, we always talk about goth music. Whenever I'm hanging out with goth people, we always talk about metal.
Yeah.
So, because goes back to my high school days when I was too metal for the goth kids and too goth for the metal kids. But my friend Eric, he's in Watain. Me and him are always talk about this album. It's from 1990. It's Elysium by Fields of the Nephilim.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
And it's heavy. I mean, those guys would get down, and they were a huge influence on Typo Negative too.
Oh.
I remember when I first saw them, I was like, "Oh my God, these guys are dressed like cowboys." I don't know. I don't know. Are they going to sound like Nick Cave? I don't know about that. And when I finally got over that hurdle, and I forget what the first song I heard by them was. Maybe it was something from Dawn Razor. I don't know. It could have been Moonchild, but
Hmm.
this album hooked me in because it's a great blend of atmosphere. I don't think they ever overdo it with the metal guitar, but it's more balanced.
Hmm.
It's kind of like their perfect hit of songwriting mixed with atmosphere and just has a great flow to it. So
Cool.
that would be one of mine.
Yeah, I mean, one of my friends, Brendan, he's like at least, God, he's at least 15 years older than me, and he's an absolutely, I mean, he used to be an old goth, and he loves Fields and Nephilim. I suppose for me, I need to properly investigate them. Like you, I find their image so ridiculous. It's like the steampunk thing in a way. I suppose I have to look beyond the surface and try and, give them another shot.
I'm in a bunch of Fields of the Nephilim Facebook groups, and they
Yeah.
were posting live pictures from a show they did recently at a festival. And only Carl McCoy is dressed up like a cowboy now. Everybody
Okay.
else is like, I
Grown up.
mean, God, they're bald headed and probably just glad to be on stage. But um, yeah. So they've outgrown some of that, but he's
I,
holding it down. You have to have at least one cowboy hat on stage for those guys. I would,
I'm sure Al Jurgensen, didn't he have something like that at some point in his career? I'm sure he had a cowboy.
Right. I think so.
I think I've got visions of that from some time before he went over the top with the piercings and everything.
Oh yeah, no, no, no. He did on I want to say it was the tour for Psalm 69.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
looked like a cowboy. And
That's
I mean Rob Zombies looked like a cowboy. And so I mean that's part of it, I guess. The
dystopian cowboy.
Yeah, they probably don't listen to the Water Boys or any of that, cow punk. but
Yes, I
that's
don't
how it
think so.
goes.
All right. Okay, so my next choice, I thought I'd go with something classic. This is, trying to remember what year this is, 1985. And I'm going with The Cult and the album Love. It's a bit of an obvious choice, I guess. But yeah, one of those very interesting bands. If you don't know the history, they started off as Southern Death Cult, then they merged into Death Cult, and then it just became The Cult. And they were the really part of the goth scene earlier on, but there's still elements present in on this record. After this, they would go completely AC/DC, but this record in particular, just that perfect mix of, hard rock from the 80s, but the post-punk edges and the energy of that. And I love Ian Astbury as a vocalist. I think he's fantastic. And interestingly enough, John Garcia, the great John Garcia from Caius, etc., is a huge Ian Astbury fan, and you can tell that the way he sings too. So obviously a very influential guy, and everyone knows she sells Sanctuary, Bloody Hell, and Rain. But dig past those two singles, and you got something very special indeed.
Yeah, I've been off and on with the Cult. I like them a lot. Their new stuff is actually pretty good.
Mm.
And they're one of those bands that I still need to see live because I think I missed them when they opened up for Metallica.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean it's funny enough though, I was thinking about as you were talking about that album, the time I interviewed Jazz Coleman, he
Mm.
was talking about when they toured with the Cult and he called them cock rock. And I said, well, and that
Yeah.
was when I was in more of a cult kick. So I was like, yeah, okay. I was like, but what about Southern Death Cult? In which I think they are touring as Death Cult right now.
Yes,
Hmm.
I know Keith's advertised that on the
Yeah,
site.
they're playing Atlanta. They're not playing Florida, I don't think.
Cool.
So,
Well, that'll be interesting to
yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. As I say, they're not a band that I listen to every day by any means, but there's enough there going on that I can really appreciate them. I've seen them live. They were fantastic, I have to say. Yeah, I like Ian Astbury. He might be a bit pretentious at times, but I think his heart's in the right place. And I just think they write pretty solid, catchy tunes, really. That's it.
I almost went to go see him playing with the members of the Doors, and now I wish I
Ah,
had.
yeah.
But live and learn.
Yeah,
There you
fair
go.
enough. Cool.
So this is going to be probably the first goth album I ever bought. I didn't buy it in 1982 when it came out.
Mhm.
And the first album I bought of darker music that wasn't metal was that, and we've talked about this, is Jesus and the Mary Chain Darklands. But
Mm,
that was post-punk, so that was kind of priming the pump.
yeah.
Um, but I remember, I think it was some girl I was hanging out with in high school. She was like, "Well, these guys are kind of metal. You might like them." And it is Only Theater of Pain by Christian Death.
What a classic. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they've from that moment they've been one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
And so I guess over time that evolved into finding other music like this, which,
Mm.
went everywhere from Specimen to Alien Sex Fiend to, my drugged out 90s. So, yeah, so there, that's, I mean, for me, it's a flawless album.
Oh yeah.
Even the skeptical lines that some people might not appreciate in littered out throughout this album, or him dressing up like a you know what at times, that I can't see on YouTube, but it rhymes with my knees. Um, yeah, I mean, God bless Ross Williams. I never saw him live. I've seen Christian Death without him, and I like the Valor stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they can't touch this.
It's really funny. Yeah, God rest his soul, Ros Williams. What a guy. It's really funny with I think with Christian Death, like the Ros Williams years, and Valorcan's a talented guy for sure, But with Roz, it always felt a bit more surreal and a bit more poetic and romantic. Whereas with Valor, I don't know, it just kind of felt like he was trying too hard just to like, oh, well, I hate religion, and we're gonna whack a fucking picture of, Jesus shooting up on an album cover. It's like, come on, dude, really? And the lyrics were kind of a bit goofy as well. I mean, there's a couple of good things that Valor did without Ros Williams, but yeah, I mean, that album in particular is absolutely pretty much a classic and fairly untouchable, I would say.
Right, right. You should see when I wear that shirt for sex, drugs, and Jesus Christ into Walmart in Florida. That is, an
Yeah, I bet
instant hit. I'm the most popular.
that.
If I wasn't as big as a professional wrestler, I'm sure that, I would get different attitudes. But it's how it goes. How it goes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and as I say, I mean, that was the last album that Gitane was on. So obviously she felt like, yeah, I think this is probably just going a little bit too far.
Right, right.
But yeah, I mean, what can you say about that record? Of course, the great Rick Agnew's on there as well, of
Mm-hmm.
course. And that's never a bad thing. So yeah, no, cool, nice one. So, for my next one, and I think it's a case of Snap here, but not the same album. I also went with Christian Death, but I went for Catastrophe Ballet, and this was the debut album of of Valorcand as well as Gitane and the guy called David Glass, who was the drummer. And I really, really love this record. I think there's a density to it. I'm just reading the notes actually. It's more influence from Bowie and Lou Reed. Again, I mentioned the surrealism, and there's a lot of post-punk here too. It's just so elegant sounding, and I think Valor Cand and Ross Williams were such a great songwriting team. I think it's a shame that it didn't last very long. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
so many amazing tracks: "Awake at the Wall," "Sleepwalk," "The Blue Hour." Just I'd love to get the original. I think there's some sort of like fanzine in there if you get like the original version. But and you've got Jitane as well contributing. I also recommend the album Ashes that came after this too. So that's what I meant when I said the first three albums, especially. So yeah, as I said, just a continuation. I think it showed a lot of musical growth from Theatre of Pain, which was maybe a little bit more aggressive, um, but still brilliant. This is a little bit more textured, I guess. And yeah, there you go. That's my choice in any way.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, I won't complain about any Christian Death. I mean, if you're ever looking for an original pressing of any Christian Death album, you need to go to LA
Mm-hmm.
and just find any pawn shop that is within a half a mile of a drug rehab center, and you can probably find it.
All right. Okay. I'll bear that in mind when
Yeah,
I'm out
that's where
that
all the
way.
good records get pawned in LA.
Probably
Number,
Roz did. Probably maybe even Roz did. God rest his soul.
yeah, I mean, and those guys, I remember, so when I lived in LA, there were, Christian Death was kind of like the Rolling Stones of homeless drug addicts. That's the band that was held in the highest regard, them or like Crass.
Yeah.
But since they were the homeboys in LA, that everybody had some type of Ross Williams story they tried to peddle to me for a cigarette and a couple dollars. So,
Fair enough.
all right, so this one is probably not. The next two will be, almost feel like checking off the boxes, but there's no way for me to deny how much of an impact they've had.
Hmm.
The first one's going to be from 1983, so it's the second oldest on the list, and it's Burning from the Inside by Bauhaus.
Yeah. Cool. Yep. House and Pete Murphy and yeah, is that their? I can't remember. Is that their first album, their second album?
Second, it's the one with She's in Part. It opens up with She's in Parties.
Yes, of course. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
What can you
it,
say?
it pretty much checks off all the boxes of what you could want from God.
Absolutely. I think Pete Murphy's a really, really interesting songwriter. If you ever get, I don't know if you've heard his solo
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, he's done some fantastic. I think he did an album called Deep, which is really
Yep.
very well worth checking out. Yeah, cool.
His new
Bauhaus.
he has a new album that came out this year
Oh,
called I
cool.
think it's called The Silver Knife or The Silver Blade.
Oh, yeah.
But it's great. It sounds like a little like he was like, okay, so my audience base wants some 80s sounding new wave. Here we go.
All right. Yeah. Oh, Dali's Car is also well worth checking out as
Yep.
well. That's a really cool little project. Yeah, yeah, nice one. Yeah, classic.
All right, what you got next?
Me, I've got now Glenn Danzig is a bit of an arse. I mean, I'm not embarrassed to say that. He can be a bit of a doofus sometimes with some of his behavior. However, it's not the Misfits that I'm choosing, and it's not Danzig. I'm talking about Samhain, if that's how you pronounce it,
Mhm.
and their EP Unholy Passion. This to me sort of marked a transition from where Glenn was with the Misfits. And I love Sam Hain's debut. Initium, I think it's pronounced. That's a brilliant record. And November Coming Fire is also good. But for me, this was the point where he really started to tip over into what Danzig would eventually become. And you've got songs like, oh my God, I don't know which one it is. I think it might be Misery Tomb, where he's just wailing away for ages. And you've got I Am Misery and The Hungry End. Those three songs alone, I think, should go down as goth classics. You've got Unholy Passion, the track itself, which is like this super tribal drum beat and that amazing bass playing from, I think it's Eerie Von. And it's actually quite a dark little EP, actually quite terrifying if you listen to it late at night. So, yeah, I think it's a really underrated little release and probably one of my favorite things that Glenn Danzig has ever put out.
Yeah, I went and saw the Misfits reunion, I guess, 2 summers ago.
Hmm.
So now I'm hoping for the Sam Hain
I'd love
reunion.
that. I'd love that. And I'd love, because I know they put out a massive box set of all their material, but I don't have the money for something like that. So hopefully when I do, I'll eventually get it, maybe. So,
Yep,
yeah.
I agree. It's a good one. I mean, I like anything that Glenn Danzig's on, except in his solo work, I kind of cut him
Mhm.
off after the fourth album.
I mean, let's be honest. Did we ever need to hear him do versions of Elvis?
Oh God, that was so terrible. I mean, I needed that from him back in 1994.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Like not being able to belt it out, which was, he sang just fine in that
yeah,
Misfits reunion. So I was like thinking, well, what happened? Like what was that? How did that leave the studio?
I know. I know. It's like I
Like
get
what
it.
was the playback on that like? Because I mean, I've played in bands and listen, I know the drill. You sit there and you get the playback and the producer sits there and these are not like they're well out of the budget of most producers that I was working with, but
Sure.
and they play it back and what do you think?
Hmm.
Did Glenn Danzig really listen back and say, "Oh man, that's awesome"?
Yeah, I know. I
You know,
know. It's almost like a piss take, really. I
he's
mean,
like, I'm really glad I didn't hit that note right there. That'd have been too much.
I mean, look, it doesn't help that I'm not really into Elvis anyway. And I mean, no disrespect to the guy, it's just not my thing. But I especially don't need to hear Glenn doing versions of that.
I mean, he's
Already
already
enough.
doing it. He's already doing it. So why push the point? You know?
Well, his nickname was the Evil Elvis, wasn't it? So I
Yeah.
suppose he thought, well, if they're going to call me that, I might as well cover him. But I really wish he hadn't.
No. Mm-mm.
Cool, wicked.
All right. So is it my go? Is that what we're at?
Well, shall I give us one more? I can give
Yeah, yeah,
us.
yeah. So because I just did Bauhaus, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I'll throw in one more, and I suppose for me, I'm going to go really old now. I mean, really old. I'm going to go back way back to 1967. And I'm actually going to throw in the Doors self-titled album. I see this for me, like, maybe next to very, very early Velvet Underground. I see this as being like the 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 first true goth rock album because it is a dark record.
Hmm.
I mean, you can hear, Ian Astbury obviously took his cues. I'm sure Glenn took his cues from and you also had Joe Wood from the latter day TSOL, especially on, I can't remember the album now, the first album he was on with that band. they all took their cues from Jim Morrison. And if you listen to this record, especially the track "The End," I mean, to me, that's a goth song. Light My Fire. I don't know, End of the Night, Break On Through to the Other Side. I don't know if these guys get played in goth clubs. I have no idea, but I think they would fit in quite well. I mean, I'm not talking about LA Woman, but yeah, that first
You have to
album.
remix it. You have to put the
Yeah,
give
absolutely.
it the beat from Closer and then play, you know, the end mixed up with Closer. That would be
Absolutely. But yeah, so for me, yeah, this is like I see this. It might be a controversial point, but I see the Doors as being one of the first true goth bands, like
right.
I would say proto-goth.
Yeah, I would say that it was the combination of like first it went through the filter of the Doors,
Yeah.
and then I think the other and Velvet Underground is mixed in
Yep.
there too. But
Sure.
I think the other person that helped solidify goth was David Bowie.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because you can hear a lot of him in Christian Death, you could hear a lot of
Mm.
him in Bauhaus, you can hear a lot of him in The Cure, you can even hear the guitar player from David Bowie playing with The Cure.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so that's where it is. I would say those two are like probably the three. We'll say we'll go ahead and give the Velvet Underground. Those three
Mm.
artists kind of everything spawned out of them.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, the likes of Susie, The Cure, all those bands were influenced by, Velvet Underground, Bowie, maybe The Doors as well. So yeah, it kind of makes sense, really. There's a lineage there of sorts, however seemingly tenuous that might be.
Oh no, yeah, I think that's you know definitely true. Definitely, even
Cool.
though they kind of came through punk rock,
Sure.
to get there, they had to take a shortcut.
Oh yeah.
So mine last album kind of falls out of the David Bowie
Mm.
tree. And this is probably pretty expected. It's gonna be a 1989 album called Disintegration by The Cure.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Um, Probably one of the best albums ever made.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the guitar tones are beautiful.
Oh, yeah,
It's dark
absolutely.
enough without that being the sole focus.
Hmm.
And because I thought about like Cocteau Twins, I thought about Ted Can Dance, I thought about
Mm.
a lot of bands I love, but they're more trafficking in shoegaze or neo folk
I
or
have a feeling, my friend, that we're going to be whenever we hook up next, we're going to be heading slowly over towards shoegaze at some point.
right, yeah.
It can be a hook of sorts.
Exactly. Yeah, that shoegaze, I mean, another band that I love that I did not put on here. I probably
Yes.
would have gotten canceled by YouTube is Death in June is not on
Oh,
here
yeah, they're
because
very
they're more
yes.
folk. I mean, they're experimental, but they're more folk.
Neo folk. Yeah, I agree.
I
Yeah,
didn't put any industrial bands on here.
no, no, no. It wouldn't have really been. It wouldn't have really fit, I don't think.
Right. So no Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, and
Marilyn Manson, you
mm,
know, I like a lot, but
mm,
I don't
yeah.
think he got goth till like midway in, really.
I mean, if
Yeah.
we're talking anything, we could say, "Oh, well, every day is Halloween" by Ministry, but that's like what, one song,
Right,
It's
right.
not really enough. So, but sorry, yeah, you were saying about disintegration. I distracted you.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, all you have to say is it's a beautiful album, dark enough.
Mhm.
There we go. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to argue Disintegration should not be on a top list of dark music.
Yeah, it's really funny because obviously The Cure, I mean, the dreaded there's like pre-Love Cats and then there's post-Love Cats, and obviously they went into a poppier direction, which was fine. It was okay. I understand why. But then of course they came back around with Disintegration, which there's some, I mean, like Plain Song alone is probably one of the most beautifully composed songs. I mean, that's
Mhm.
quite shoegazy in and of itself, Plain
Right.
Song. And a love song, everyone knows that, and Fascination Street. Lullaby, I don't mind it, but I guess I've heard it so many times. And there's one lyric in there that I'm maybe not crazy about. The Spider-Man is having me for dinner, which is
Right.
as a kid, for some reason, that used to annoy me a bit. I don't know why,
I always thought
but
of Peter Parker, like how hungry could he really be?
exactly right. But yeah, but for the most part, yeah. I mean, what can you say? It's a beautiful record. And the last one with what was he called? Lowell.
Yeah.
Um, Lowell Thompson, is it? I can't
Hmm.
remember. I think.
So
Yeah,
I
but yeah,
saw Pearl Thompson was playing with Plant
Paul
and
Thompson.
Page.
Yeah.
And so it was weird, they covered Lullaby and
Hmm.
Robert Plant was singing it,
Wow.
which was pretty surreal. And that was
Yeah.
like 94, 95.
Jesus.
So Robert Plant wasn't like immigrant songing it. He was, you know.
Yeah, you know what? Robert Plant's quite an open-minded sort of guy, I think. He's all right. I mean, I kind of like him. I think he's one of those artists who's not afraid to, tackle things that will be considered well outside his comfort zone. So
Right?
fair play to him.
That is correct. I mean, yeah, I like Robert Plant. Can't go wrong with
No,
Led Zeppelin.
sure.
I mean, they were lived in recorded in Aleister Crowley's house. That's kind of goth, but
Good point.
I
Very
think
good
I
point.
think the common ground they have with goth is the drugs. Um,
Yes, quite
you
possible.
know,
Oh, well, they were into Satanism. Well, Jimmy Page was into some of that,
we'll
wasn't he?
say the occult. I mean,
The
I
occult,
mean,
yeah.
I wish they were into Satanism. Those have been some better albums.
Ooh,
Can you imagine that?
wow. Spicy. I know. I mean, there's only so many times I can bear to him go on about lemon juice running down
Yeah,
his leg or something. Okay, Rob,
they
fine.
were
Fair.
they were the forerunners of cock rock. There's no
They were.
question
Yeah,
about
I
that.
have a soft spot. Yeah, but you're right. Absolutely.
All right, so we got shoegaze coming up, and we'll get back on our black metal train that we had hinted at earlier. But I want to
Sure.
get this one out before Halloween. I'm moving, so that's a long and winding road in itself.
Absolutely. I'm very appropriate too.
Yeah, will be our last day at this place is Halloween, so hopefully that's all done, so I can enter the darkness of November.
Well, best of luck with your move, man.
Thanks.